Kwesi Pratt Jr., the managing editor for Insight newspaper, ana ede ensembi ebo abanya wotumi mu saying say ansa na ebe appoint obi no na yo process a ye faso a ye hwehwe nipa no toto na no hu se ode amamra ebedi dwuma na wasa de police sadom no ana be enforce no ye koba ne saying ana the newly appointed Kumasi mayor Yura Richard ana wote din eni Zuba ekoma na no so a wo so beboye ma menum dwedufo e wodwom na ne ye fin se some slip of tongue bi anase jai kress waka enso on reye nanso so in other interview ebe interview krachi bi anoguso ebo sa asem ne so obebo ma mefo enantwi wo krum obechia koma prison fo aye aduane adi and alongside Obia so intimi nka because ono any chief director for Kumasi Metropolitan Kasambe na Kwesi Pratt ejina so aka se in the first place was a yede sobo no ebo ye mampanyini because ono ana ewotumi so ba appointing ni pana before so ba appointing ni pano na wonim ni tirimu asem ekoba ne sen ana nipa ba ko opeso active lawlessness ewo man mu up till now yenti NDC ni bi panyini bi anampo president say watwe no tunofo anase wo ka bibi mpo ayeden aguna sum anase wo mpa ba bonten say asem o kan no entwa yi wei ana ema na che na adwen so position ewa ha ni he in fact yeni na nim say NDC beba ba mu na omu areshe mu ni na agina John Dramani Mahama so enti John Dramani Mahama so tena ho ma niema bi se nsemfu bi se mfa ye ni ase abra ye wo ye the judiciary system and the police service to enforce the law dia any opposition await jebre na memfa Yura Kwesi Pratt anu this
I am completely shocked by this public display of lawlessness. I mean, extreme lawlessness. And for me, the most important question is, how did such a person get appointed as a municipal chief executive for Kumasi? How did he get appointed? Who interviewed him? That's the critical question for me. You understand? Because from the way he's talking, I mean, if you sit down with him for 5 minutes, it should be possible to discern what his orientation is. But he was interviewed.
Yeah.
He went through a system and got approval to become municipal chief executive of one of the biggest cities in Ghana. This is the shock. The shock is not so much what he says, but how he got to that position. Something must be wrong with the system of appointment.
Yeah.
Something is seriously wrong with the system of appointment. If these are the people who are getting appointed, then something is wrong. There's a guy who is telling us that, look, I'm going to be lawless. That's what he's saying. Because under what law is he going to engage in public flogging of citizens? I mean, one would have thought that these things ended with 1979, 1981, this
NDC,
and so on. That's exactly what he's talking about. And I'm completely scandalized, you know, by the kind of statements he's making. And I think that I'll even be more scandalized if by tomorrow he's still at post. If after this display he's still at post, it will be a huge statement about the appointing authority. Not so much about him, but about the appointing authority and those who are going to keep him in office. This will not be tolerated anywhere. You know, it is this kind of mindset which has led to Duterte being flown to the International Criminal Court.
Yeah.
It is this kind of mindset.
Yeah.
And God knows if we encourage this, where it will lead to. People who can publicly declare that I have no confidence in the judiciary, I have no confidence in the police, I have my own democratic military way of doing things. And we are going to flog people in public. We are going to beat.
Yeah.
It's not just the flogging. He actually talks about beating people.
Yeah.
This is shocking. I mean, I never expected that we'll come to this. This is completely shocking. And this calls for a complete review of the processes of appointing public officers. Complete review.
True.
Because if such people can slip through these processes of appointing public officers, then this country is in big trouble. Who decided that he should become the Metropolitan Chief Executive for Kumasi? How was he interviewed? Who tested his credentials? This is a huge problem.
You know, interestingly, Kwesi, you know, he was subsequently interviewed on some other media platforms, and he actually justified the decision.
Yeah.
And he was asked if the president was aware he has the approval or the endorsement or the blessing of the president, because you are the representative of the president over there, per the very structure of our local governance architecture. The man said, well, it's not about the president, it's about what is good for the people of Kumasi. And he has come to a certain realization that until he starts beating the people won't do the right things. And the presenter also asked him, is the Fo0ls aware of this? Have you had any word with the Fo0ls that this is how you intend to fix?
He is not an appointee of the Fo0ls.
Yes, no, he's not. I agree with you.
And that's one of the problems that I found with this interview.
Yes.
Because he repeatedly said that he was working for Fo0ls.
Yes.
You were not appointed.
Oh, so you listened to the same interview I'm talking about?
I listened to the interview.
Yes.
I mean, people should get their roles right.
Yes.
Municipal, district chief executives and so on are appointees of the president.
Strictly speaking, finish.
The municipal chief executive for Cape Coast is not an appointee of the Ogwa or Mahine.
Yeah.
It's an appointee of the president.
Yeah.
You understand? This mixture, this sometimes I think is deliberate.
Yeah.
You know, it should come to an end. They must understand their roles. You know, they are not part of the.
Okay.
You know, I mean, what is this?
No, I understand what you're saying.
The guy doesn't even know that he's not an appointee of the palace.
But it speaks to the power and the influence of the palace.
It does.
It's not necessarily it's not administrative, but I think it's more political. Yeah. You know, which is you've got to respect the palace. So I'm
not saying that don't respect the palace.
Yes.
I'm not saying that don't respect anybody.
Yes.
You have to respect everybody, not just the palace.
Yes.
You have to respect the street vendor. You have to respect the unemployed. You have to respect everybody. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the authority of the municipal chief executive, which is clearly derived from this constitution.
Yeah.
You are an appointee of the president. He doesn't even know that.
Case closed.
How do?
Come on.
You see, let me set off from where Kwesi stopped. When you take this constitution and read Article 243,
okay,
where King Zube's appointments emanate from, actually, it doesn't mention anywhere that you belong to a chiefdom.
Nation palace or a chiefdom. Okay. Generally speaking.
Generally speaking, it doesn't mention anywhere. However, in the spirit of collaboration, harmony,
and
cooperation, we work with our traditional chiefs. And clearly so, this constitution has distinguished our chiefdom or our chieftaincy institutions as well, per Article 270, again, when you read it. But let me put it aside. This gentleman who decided to say that, look, state institution clothed with the law to assist you do what is right, he would not deal with them. Was once a chief executive in Obuasi. I don't know whether you've followed his history.
Yeah.
He He was a municipal chief executive of Obuasi. The question I want to ask, when he was municipal chief executive and so wished to have a clean city or town, what legacy did he leave behind in Obuasi? That's the first question.
So you're talking about track record?
Yes, let's follow his legacy. He has been a municipal chief executive. Okay, now you have come to a metropolitan chief executive. What was the legacy in Obuasi? Before you come with all these statements of emotional blackmail, may I call it emotional blackmail, to have spoken untoward, to have spoken unguarded, without recourse to the law, and then you quickly bring in the Otumfuo. Otumfuo Kumasi there was said, it's emotional blackmail. So that knowing what wrong you have committed, you will quickly go and hide under Otumfuo in case there's supposed to be some apologies to be rendered. He will speak for you. The venerable Otumfuo that I know will never countenance what is lawlessness. He will never. In as much as he wished for Garden City or for Kumasi to look good, he would not say, let us visit barbarism on people in Kumasi. He will not say that. I'm not sure. That is why we first have to look at the track record of this gentleman. Because himself King Zuba or whatever. I listened to him when I was coming in the car. He was being interviewed. And he was still seeking to justify what he said.
Really?
Yes.
Even this morning? This
morning I was listening to him. He didn't he did not explicitly say that, look, I am supporting what I said. But he said, look, Uba Kumasia, I'm out for Tonchijiga Kwaiso. Put some vigor.
So it tells me that nobody has called him
to order yet. This morning,
to even say, my brother,
I listened to live interview.
Stop this.
He was saying, and even gave examples of race course. I have stayed in Kumasi a bit. Gave examples of Kijetia around whatever. He was giving some examples, talking about people who were selling, this used clothing with rings and hanging them. He's going to make sure that all this. And he mentioned that he would slaughter people's cows or bulls and give to the. I listened to him this morning. He mentioned it. You see, and I think that, look, that's why I quoted Article 243 where he comes from. This constitution, apart from it being a constitution, has what we call constitutionalism. And the lawyers and law students will tell you what constitutionalism is. And Kwesi and Co have suffered a lot in this country to ensure that the Bill of Rights of we citizens of this country is respected. And what's our Bill of Rights? It emanates from the constitutionalism. They have fought hard. I've read their history. The likes of Akufo-Addo, the likes of who? Jake Mensah and Co. People rose up to ensure that, look, not a single authority in this country must go unchecked. Even the president has limits. There are things he cannot do. That is why there's judicial review pronounced in our constitution. Then you tell us that we are going to pay you, then you will get a pickup with 10 boys in there. And even as that, with some infantry, that my banner say, oh yeah, like he said, my boys didn't know how in there, we're free. The boys know how. There and then, beatings. Really? You see, the danger this poses is that when we all go quiet and don't speak up and allow this to fester, it's going to be dangerous. Like-minded people like him will also come up. That is why I said, look, let's first go to Obuasi, check. What was his track record? What did he do? He's claiming that he wants to clean Kumasi. Did you clean Obuasi first? This small town. 2, you have come to Kumasi. Who tells you that communication doesn't solve it all? Even the Akan language. I don't speak Twi so much. But in Twi, they say, Kasade ma abato. Is that not what they say?
Yeah, but you speak Twi very well.
Communication.
Yeah, you speak Twi well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Communication alone solves it all. And communication alone can destroy it all.
Yeah.
You see, in this sense, he has used communication to destroy himself and destroy the good intentions of the President of the Republic of Ghana. What good intention did the President have? He thought that you were going to do a good job and represent him there. That's why he appointed you. But you have gone, and your fair statements and your actions and inactions has proven the President of the Republic of Ghana wrong. That is why Kwesi is questioning the due diligence they did before appointing him. I know. I have gone to vet people who have appointed DCs before. I went to Western region and I did some vetting when we were in power. I went to Oti region, I did that. It was a process, and they came to Jubilee House and they were vetted again before the final list will come. So through all this vetting, what did they unearth from this gentleman, King Zuba? Or it's just the fact that I'm an NDC and that ends, go and sit there. Sadly, I don't know how true this is. The minister is appearing to support him. The TikTok minister, Ashanti regional minister, also wants to say he supports what the gentleman is saying. I read somewhere like that. I think that's dangerous. You see, what some of these things can do. Among you and I are Muslims, and we know the history of Makaranta, Arabic schools, the madrasa. You know those days, it got to a point kids didn't even want to go to Makaranta.
Because we're flogged.
We're flogged. So until Malam said, look, this is not the way to go. We can't be flogging people in the name of wanting them to learn. What you do is that it gets to a point the person rises up. You know, insurrections and revolutions and all those, it happens when you pin the person to the wall.